And this story is not entertainment. It's a confession. I didn't want to write this. Every time I tried, something went wrong. Lights flickered, files corrupted, voices in the audio. But I kept going, because once you see her, the real her, you're cursed with the need to speak. This is the story of the Carter family, as told by someone who was inside. How do I know? Because I was their nanny. I rocked their children to sleep. I watched them sleepwalk under moonlight. I heard the things they whispered when Beyonce stood over them with candles. And I swear to you, Jay-Z is not the one in charge. What you're about to hear left a mark on my soul that no priest, no therapist, and no prayer has been able to lift. May God have mercy on me. People like me don't get opportunities like this. I wasn't rich, I wasn't connected, I didn't have an aunt in the industry or a sorority network to lean on. I just worked hard, always did. I studied childhood development, interned at clinics, taught preschool, and climbed my way into the private nanny circuit. I was proud of that. I took care of people's kids like they were my own. And for the most part, parents respected me for it. So when I got the call about them, I thought God was answering one of my secret prayers. It came through a back channel, someone I'd worked for in Atlanta who knew someone in LA who passed my name along. The message was short and mysterious. Major family needs a live-in nanny. Very discreet, must be trustworthy, adaptable, and able to relocate immediately. No names, no details, just a phone number. The interview was virtual and brief. A woman's voice, professional, measured, with a faint trace of something foreign I couldn't quite place. Asked me about sleep training, nutrition plans, and emergency protocols. She never said who the family was, only that the twins were high profile and sensitive to energy. I thought that meant allergies or something medical. By the time she offered the position, she still hadn't said the names. I didn't ask. I was told a car would be sent for me and that all belongings would be vetted by security. Do not bring electronics, she said. You'll be provided with everything you need. It wasn't until the car turned onto a private drive near Bel Air and I saw the massive black gates, the same ones I'd seen on gossip sites, that I realized exactly where I was going. The Carter estate, Beyonce, Jay-Z, Rumi, sir. This was it. This was the top. The kind of job that could set you up for life. I remember gripping the car seat like it would float me out of my own nerves. I told myself, stay calm, be excellent. This could change everything. And it did. Just not the way I thought. They don't show you the real house in the press, not the full thing. What you see online, the white stone walls, the infinity pool, the glass staircase, that's just the outer shell. The image, inside it's colder, quieter, more controlled. Every hallway had security. Not guards in uniform, but still. Men and women with earpieces blending into the walls, always watching. Certain rooms were locked at all times. I was told the kids had trackers sewn into their pajamas for safety. There were no mirrors in the children's bedrooms. That struck me as odd. My quarters were beautiful, sterile, and silent. Sound didn't carry in the house. You could scream in the kitchen and not be heard in the foyer. That's not an exaggeration. I tested it one night just to see. The twins were sweet, bright-eyed. Rumi was more vocal. Sir was quieter but observant. They both liked to draw, a lot. But some of the things they drew, I didn't know how to explain. Circles with black suns inside, a woman with no face, a creature with multiple arms touching their heads. At first, I chalked it up to overactive imagination, too much visual stimulation from their environment. But it didn't stop. It got worse. One night, Rumi showed me a picture she drew of mommy floating. When I asked her what that meant, she said, when she gets shiny. I didn't understand, not yet. Beyonce rarely appeared during the day. I was told she worked nights, but it wasn't just recording sessions. I could hear it through the walls. chanting, drums, something low and rhythmic that didn't sound like music. It sounded older. Every evening around 3 a.m., I'd feel a pressure in the air, like the atmosphere shifted. It started in my ears, a humming, like standing near a transformer box, then moved to my chest, like something was pushing down on me from the ceiling. The twins always woke up at that hour, always, not crying, just staring. Sometimes they'd both be sitting up, completely still, eyes open and unblinking, looking toward the hallway. That hallway was pitch black. No matter what time of day it was, the far end near the basement door always looked like night. I asked once, just once, why the studio was off limits. One of the assistants looked at me and said flatly, "She doesn't like people in that space when she's channeling." "Channeling what?" I asked. She smiled, not kindly. "Energy. Don't worry about it. Just don't go down there." Jay-Z was a ghost. He moved through the house like someone borrowing space. Always on the phone, always distracted. He'd pass by the twins, glance at them, then keep walking. He never gave me orders, never even learned my name. One night I found him sitting alone in the den, staring at nothing. "She's always watching," he said, without looking at me. "Sir?" He blinked, shook his head, stood up and left the room. I wasn't even sure he knew he said it. The longer I stayed, the more the house felt wrong. It wasn't one big event. It was 100 tiny things that added up. Like a painting that seems normal until you notice the eyes are following you. Then the smile changes. Then you realize the painting is older than it should be. Something was feeding on the energy in that house, something ancient. And I was starting to believe it wasn't Beyonce pretending to be someone else on stage, but that someone else was pretending to be her. I used to sleep like a stone in that house. Now I dread the nights. It always begins at 3:33 a.m. Exactly. The bedside clock glows that number like a threat. The twins start moving before I even open my eyes. At first, I thought they were waking from nightmares, but nightmares end with screaming. This was silence. They sit up at the same second, eyes wide, breathing together, gazes fixed toward the dark hall that leads to the studio. Their small bodies lean forward as if something in the walls is calling their names. One night I whispered, "Rumi?" No answer. Just that hum again, low, rhythmic, pulsing through the plaster like a heartbeat under my palm. I pressed my ear to the wall. It was warm. The vibration matched my pulse until I couldn't tell which beat belonged to me. When morning came, Rumi rubbed her eyes and smiled like nothing had happened. I asked if she remembered being awake. She said, "It's Mommy's song." Then she giggled and skipped away. By the third week, the humming was constant. Sometimes it came from the vents, other times from beneath the floors, a tune that hid beneath the sound of running water or clinking dishes. I started humming it without realizing, then caught myself mid-note and froze. The melody had no rhythm, no key, just motion, like water over stones. When I stopped, the air seemed to pause, listening. That's when I noticed Beyonce changing. She'd glide through rooms instead of walking, her robe whispering against marble. Her voice carried an echo, even when she spoke softly. One afternoon, she stopped by the nursery. The twins leapt into her arms, and the room brightened in a way that made me feel suddenly dull, invisible. She kissed their foreheads, whispering words that sounded ancient, syllables that rolled and clicked like prayer, but didn't belong to any language I knew. I tried to smile, but my stomach turned. The lights flickered. She looked up and caught my reflection in the window before I could look away. For a heartbeat, her eyes shimmered gold. Later, when I asked the assistant about it, she said, "It's part of her centering work. Don't interrupt her when she channels." She used that word, channels, like it was normal. Sleep offered no relief. I dreamed of golden threads crawling across my skin, binding my wrists, slipping between my lips until they stitched my breath shut. I'd wake tangled in sheets, gagging on air that tasted metallic. Each morning, there'd be that same faint shimmer of gold powder on the pillowcase. I threw it out. The next night, it reappeared. Sometimes, while washing dishes, I'd see flashes in the steel sink, my own reflection with different eyes staring back. Once, I swear I saw her reflection, though she wasn't behind me. The only other person who seemed aware something was wrong was him, Jay-Z. He drifted like a ghost now, slower every day. I'd pass him in the hall and smell incense and wine. Once I found him sitting alone in the den, mumbling words that sounded like lyrics, but heavier. "She's always watching," he said suddenly, eyes still on the blank television. "Who is?" I asked. He blinked, confused. Did I say something? The TV screen caught a flash of movement behind me. For an instant, it was her face, smiling, but when I turned, the doorway was empty. Weeks passed. My reflection grew pale. I lost weight I couldn't afford to lose. Food tasted of dust. The twins began drawing again, pages scattered across the playroom like evidence. They'd drawn their mother without a face, surrounded by black hands with gold eyes. Strings stretched from her body to theirs like puppet wires. At the bottom of one drawing, in jagged letters, "When mommy sings, the light hides." I hid that page in my pocket, meaning to throw it away. I still don't know why I kept it. It happened the following night. I was heading to the kitchen. I told myself I'd stay upstairs that night. No more wandering, no more listening through doors. But curiosity in that house didn't feel like mine anymore. It felt invited. The hum beneath the floors had gone quiet for 2 nights in a row, and the silence gnawed at me worse than the sound ever did. Around 2 a.m., the stillness woke me. Not a noise, the lack of it. The twins were sleeping for once, their breathing even. Yet something in my chest tugged me toward the hallway, the way tide pulls a loose boat. I fought it for a moment, gripping the doorknob until my palm sweated. Then my hand moved on its own. The air changed as soon as I stepped out. The temperature dropped, the scent of honey thickened, and the lights along the stairwell flickered once, then held steady in a dull amber glow. The basement door, usually locked, guarded forbidden, stood open just enough for the hinge to whisper. I don't remember deciding to walk down. 1 second I was on the landing. The next, my bare feet touched cold concrete. The deeper I went, the more the air felt charged, as if the house had swallowed a thunderstorm and was holding it in its lungs. At the bottom of the steps, the studio looked nothing like a recording room. The equipment was gone. Every surface shimmered with thin sheets of gold leaf, pressed into looping cymbals, some circular, some jagged, all moving slightly as though breathing. Black candles ringed the floor. Their flames leaned inward, defying gravity, feeding on a draft I couldn't feel. In the center hovered Beyonce. She wasn't floating gracefully. Her body jerked in small spasms, arms out, head thrown back, toes just clearing the floor. A basin beside her glowed from within, liquid red, luminous, swirling on its own. The smell was metallic and sweet, like hot sugar and blood that never dried. From the walls came whispering, multiple voices overlapping in patterns I almost recognized. Half French, half something else, the vowels long and fluid. I would later learn they were fragments of Yoruba prayers, but that night they sounded like the sea speaking through human throats. My first instinct was to call for help, but the air pressed against me thick as water. I couldn't open my mouth. I watched instead. Her body arched backward. Gold dust lifted from her skin and hung suspended. Beneath her on the concrete, a sigil drawn in ash and honey pulsed faintly, each beat matching the rhythm of the candles. And there, near the basin, lay a small sculpture of a woman carved from wax. Wide hips, flowing hair, face worn smooth. It glowed from inside like a coal and began to melt, gold dripping into the basin, until the red turned orange. Then Beyonce's eyes snapped open. They weren't white. They were the color of sunrise behind fog, brilliant, blinding. Her mouth opened, and 2 voices came out. The first was hers, rich, controlled, musical. The second crawled beneath it, deeper, patient, old enough to have forgotten language. Together they said, "You were warned not to look. Now you carry what you've seen." Something bright leapt from her forehead, thin as thread, molten as wire, and struck me between the eyes. It burned without heat, carving light straight into my skull. The last thing I saw was her smile folding inward, like a curtain being drawn. When I woke, daylight poured through my window. Birds chirped. For a moment, I convinced myself I'd dreamed it, until I sat up and the skin between my brows throbbed like a healing cut. In the mirror, I found a faint mark shaped like an elongated teardrop, golden at its edges. Downstairs, the household moved as if nothing had happened. The chef prepared breakfast. The assistant typed silently at her tablet. Beyonce, dressed in white linen, greeted me with a smile too soft to be real. "You've been working too hard," she said. "Maybe take some rest today." Her voice carried no echo now, no double layer, just calm. When she turned to pour tea, the sunlight caught her hair, and for an instant, I saw threads of gold writhing inside the strands like tiny veins. The twins didn't look at me. When I reached for Rumi's plate, she pulled it back wordlessly. Sir hid behind his chair. The assistant noticed my confusion, but said only, "They're sensitive to energy. Don't worry, they'll warm up again." I tried to rebuild. I told myself it was just stress, trauma, burnout, from a dream job turned nightmare. So I applied for other nanny jobs, smaller families, normal homes. The first client said her child cried the moment I stepped in. The second never let me finish the trial day. The third left a voicemail saying, "I don't know what energy you brought into our home, but we need space. Please don't come back." It wasn't long before agencies stopped returning calls. I checked my own resume online. Gone. Entire listings wiped. A website I'd built myself showed nothing but a blank white screen. I moved cities, changed my number, bought a cheap burner phone. Still, nothing worked. The humming followed me. Not every day. But on the bad nights, it would crawl through the floorboards. Radiator pipes would shudder in rhythm. Light bulbs would blink once, twice, then hold their breath. And always, just as I was about to fall asleep, I'd hear a quiet click, like someone opening a door down the hall. Only I lived alone. It was almost a year later that I found the first message. I'd been doom scrolling one night, blurry-eyed, when a post on an old Nanny forum caught my attention. It was up for maybe 60 seconds before it vanished. I worked with her too. It doesn't leave you, she marks you. I screenshotted it. My hands shook so badly I nearly dropped the phone. When I clicked on the user's profile, the page was already gone. Deleted, scrubbed, but after that, more things started to appear. Not publicly. Quiet things. An email from a burner address with no subject line. Just a sentence. Don't say her name. Just describe the eyes. Then another. I was the chef. We all felt it. The gold never washes off. And then the one that made me sit frozen for an hour. There are more of us. She doesn't need to kill you. She just makes sure no one listens. That's when I knew. It wasn't just me. It never was. Some of the stories sounded like mine. Others, worse. One woman said she woke up one night unable to move, paralyzed as something, stood over her and whispered lyrics in a voice she hadn't heard in years. A man said he used to work security on their estate. Left after one night, he saw Beyonce walk into a mirror and not come back out. He said he never told anyone, not even his own mother, until now. Some of them disappeared after sending their message, email addresses deactivated, posts deleted. One guy's entire blog vanished. Domain, cache, everything, as if it had never existed. It's like we're not people anymore. We're leftovers, broken tools, souls that got too close to something divine and walked away scorched. And if she's what I think she is now, there's nothing divine about it. She doesn't perform, she channels. And when you see the real her, even for a second, she knows. She watches. I tried to record this story before, twice. The footage glitched, the audio reversed. My own face lagged on playback, smiling seconds before my mouth moved. I thought it was the camera. Then I tried my phone. The same thing. Tonight, I'm trying again. If you're hearing this, if this upload stayed online long enough for you to see it, that means they haven't found me yet. I need to know I'm not alone. If any of this sounds familiar, if you've worked for them or felt something wasn't right, leave a comment. Don't use names, just say, "I've seen her eyes." Like the video so more of us can find each other. Subscribe if you want the rest of the story. I'll keep posting as long as I can. And if I disappear, you already know why.